Muammar Gaddafi says he's moved Americans in Libya to places that are likely targets for U.S. retaliation, while President Reagan schedules a meeting on Libya that could be decisive.
NBC Nightly News, reported by Chris Wallace.
Good evening. The tense showdown between the U.S. and Libya appears headed toward a climax tonight. President Reagan has called a meeting of his National Security Council tomorrow to discuss whether to retaliate for Libya's alleged role in a Berlin bombing. But Muammar Gaddafi may have already acted. He says he's moved foreign workers, including Americans, to army bases and oil fields the U.S. would be likely to hit. Meanwhile, a U.S. diplomat is trying to win Allied support for a U.S. military strike, and he is getting a cool response. We begin our coverage in Libya with correspondent Steve Delaney.
The Libyans are concerned that their military bases may become targets for American airstrikes if there's another round of hostilities. So Colonel Gaddafi has told an American reporter that yesterday Libyan troops were withdrawn from those bases. The camps are now to be used as permanent housing for foreign oil field workers, including perhaps 1,000 Americans. The idea is to discourage raids on those places by planes from the U.S. 6th Fleet. There is no on-site confirmation of the exchange story because foreign reporters here do not circulate without escort. Some Western diplomats posted to Tripoli have suggested that moving soldiers out of the bases and moving foreign workers in is not a practical idea. During the weekend, the Arab League issued a statement of solidarity with Libya, although the text of the statement does not require the Arab states to do anything. And the island of Malta, Libya's closest neighbor in the Mediterranean, is asking the UN Security Council for an emergency resolution banning the use of force in the central Mediterranean. It is that kind of diplomatic and political activity which is now at center stage here, although underlying it all is the knowledge that the 6th Fleet is out at sea, somewhere beyond what Libya claims as its territorial waters. Steve Delaney, NBC News, Tripoli.
Some Western businessmen in Libya confirmed tonight that they had been ordered to move their workers into Libyan military camps. The businessmen said they were stalling for time and that the workers had not yet been moved. Incidentally, Gaddafi got a show of support today from Syria, which said it will, quote, participate next to Libya against an American attack. But there was no explanation of how it would participate. The president meets with top advisors tomorrow amid signs he's very close to deciding what to do about Libya. And officials say he won't be frightened off by Gaddafi's statements about putting Americans in danger. Jamie Gangel reports.
Returning to the White House, the president would not comment on Libyan leader Gaddafi's latest announcement of moving foreigners onto oil fields and military bases. But appearing on a morning interview show, Deputy Secretary of State Whitehead dismissed the report.
I don't think there's any truth to the story. It's just another one of his claims.
And if the president is concerned, the White House made an effort to make Mr. Reagan look calm and casual as he welcomed Japanese Prime Minister Nakasone to Camp David in a golf cart. But behind the scenes, administration officials say the president is moving toward a decision about whether to make a retaliatory strike against Libya. And White House officials confirm the president will have a special national security meeting tomorrow to evaluate the situation. The State Department's top counterterrorism expert insists this is the president's style of decision-making.
There's a lot of talk about the president acting recklessly, and yet in cases like this, he generally acts in a very cautious manner. He wants to be sure that he's right before he makes any decisions.
Today, the president conferred with Vice President George Bush and Secretary of State Schultz, both of whom are believed to favor a military strike. Noticeably absent from the Camp David meeting was Defense Secretary Weinberger, who is believed to oppose such action. The only word from the Pentagon today is that the 2 U.S. aircraft carriers, along with as many as 30 other U.S. warships, remain on alert in the Mediterranean. Senator Richard Lugar, who supports a military strike, has also been invited to the White House tomorrow to consult with the president.
It does indicate the seriousness with which the president views all this, and if there is culpability, state terrorism by Libya, the president has indicated there are consequences to that.
While White House officials stress that the president is being cautious, they say he is not backing off. Said one, "We're still just waiting for a decision." Jamie Gangel, NBC News, the White House.
Vernon Walters continued shuttling across Europe today, trying to win Allied backing for retaliation. But in Germany, the advice was stay away from a military confrontation with Libya. NBC's John Cochran on the Walters mission.
Ambassador Walters had his first tough assignment at the home of H. Kohl this morning, trying to persuade the West German Chancellor to support military action against Libya. On Friday, Chancellor Kohl warned that an American attack could have unforeseen consequences. And as Ambassador Walters left West Germany today, Kohl still seemed determined to send his own foreign minister to Washington on Tuesday to urge President Reagan not to attack Libya. Walters' next stop was Paris, where he hoped for better luck with the new French Prime Minister, Jacques Chirac, who wants France to get tougher with terrorists. But after the meeting, the Frenchman said nothing, and the American displayed one of the reasons that 5 American presidents have trusted him. He can talk in public without revealing anything.
They were basically subjects of common interest to France and the United States. Beyond that, I have nothing further that I can tell you now. Thank you.
Walters will remain in Paris tomorrow morning to see President Mitterrand, who has so far remained silent on the Libyan-American confrontation. Then Walters travels to Italy for what could be a rough session with Prime Minister Bettino Craxi, who is firmly opposed to what he calls a military blitz against Libya. Worried Italians kept a close watch this weekend over ships of the American Sixth Fleet, ships off the Sicilian coast which headed toward a rendezvous with U.S. aircraft carriers near Libya. Yesterday, Ambassador Walters was here at 10 Downing Street in London, trying to win Prime Minister Thatcher's approval to use bombers stationed in Britain. It has never been clear whether an American president can legally use these planes without British consent. But politically, it would be virtually unthinkable to ignore the British government's wishes. Tanker planes are already here, just in case the bombers go on a mission to Libya, requiring refueling in midair. Today, Mrs. Thatcher said nothing publicly and kept a safe distance from reporters' questions. Tonight, there is one report that Prime Minister Thatcher has already given her approval. But the consensus of other reports is that Mrs. Thatcher has not yet given her final answer, that she has only promised her support if President Reagan can justify an attack under international law. John Cochran, NBC News, London.
And tomorrow, the foreign ministers of 12 European countries will hold an urgent meeting in the Netherlands to consider what position to take in the U.S.-Libya conflict. U.S. officials say evidence linking Libya to the West Berlin bombing is indisputable, but they have refused to say what that evidence is. Pentagon correspondent Jim Miklashevsky says the Reagan administration has a good reason for saying so little. It is protecting a spy.
Today in West Berlin, the bombed-out disco and a flower cross stand as memorials to last week's terrorist attack that killed 2 people, including 1 American. The U.S. links Libya to the bombing, and now informed sources indicate that Libyan connection came from a spy, probably operating in Berlin. But U.S. officials now claim the full extent of that information may never be revealed. Last week, the intelligence community was reportedly outraged when U.S. Ambassador Richard Burt and NATO Commander Bernard Rogers claimed the U.S. had clear indications and indisputable evidence that Libya was behind the disco bombing. U.S. officials claimed the remarks could endanger their source. In an apparent attempt to cover the source, administration officials claimed their information had come from intercepted radio messages from Libya, which congratulated the Libyan embassy in East Berlin for a great success. But the value of that information remains in dispute.
This may be connected with the West Berlin bombing, but it's not proved.
On NBC's Meet the Press, Vice President George Bush remained evasive about what the U.S. knows.
In Washington, everybody says there is a very close link. We have the evidence. Nobody is willing to talk about it. How can you have it?
You found another one that's not willing to.
Officials say even Ambassador Vernon Walters may not be able to reveal the missing Libyan link to allies in Europe. Intelligence experts contend all this secrecy is essential to protect their sources, but acknowledge it makes it all that much tougher to convince the allies to impose sanctions or back U.S. retaliation against Libya. Jim Miklashevsky, NBC News, the Pentagon.
And coming up later in this program, Ferdinand Marcos tells Tom Brokaw reports of his vast wealth are greatly exaggerated. Dennis Murphy with some surprising facts about the 2 killers who died in a Miami shootout with the FBI. And San Bernardino in Rome, where the Pope made the first papal visit ever to a Jewish synagogue.
Give me a deadline, give me a goal, give me a challenge, 'cause I'm on a roll.
It's a
a feeling of exhilaration, a feeling you get with the Somerset T-Type, the personal driver's coupe from Buick.
Somerset, come on, set me free, yeah. Somerset.
The Somerset T-Type with an available 3-liter fuel-injected engine and performance that just won't quit.
Somerset, oh, wouldn't you rather have a Somerset? Oh, wouldn't you really rather have a Buick?
I have a small business problem. My brother-in-law, Milton, couldn't sell tea in China. So I called the small business experts at AT&T, and they showed us new ways to use long distance to open a whole new territory. What'd you sell today, Milton?
6,000 switches.
Check the inventory. I have a small business problem.
Call AT&T Long Distance Services. We can help. AT&T, the right choice.
Can you see okay?
Yeah. Peanuts! Get your fresh roasted peanuts!
2. Want some peanuts?
Yeah.
Remember fresh roasted peanuts? One whiff, and you knew how good they taste.
They're still warm.
If you think that fresh taste is a thing of the past, you should try Planters' new improved dry roasted peanuts. They're so fresh, so flavorful. They taste like they're fresh from the roaster.
Fresh roasted peanuts!
Planters, the peanuts with fresh roasted taste.
Anti-apartheid activist Winnie Mandela predicted today that white rule in South Africa will end this year. Mandela delivered fiery speeches in 3 black townships. NBC News correspondent Mike Betcher reports.
Chants of black power echoed through the small church in Soweto, South Africa's largest black township, as Winnie Mandela, banned from speaking here for 15 years, appeared unannounced. Her message was direct. It now is time for the black majority to use force to overthrow the ruling white minority.
We work in the white man's kitchens. We bring up the white man's children. We could have killed them any day we wanted to. We have no arms. We have stones. We have boxes of matches. We have
In what took on the form of a roving political rally, Mandela moved on to another township meeting. She said the time for negotiations had ended.
We shall return fire with fire. We are not going to turn the cheek. We are going to fight them to the last drop of our blood in the same way they are prepared to fight us to the last drop of their blood.
Oblivious to what Mrs. Mandela was saying, a convoy of South African Army vehicles entered the same township for a public relations excursion. They handed out newspapers that said the soldiers are your friends.
Well, we're here to make peace.
No, not our friends.
Why not?
Not our friends, because they shoot us.
In the townships, Winnie Mandela's message, not the Army's, are the words more likely to be heeded. Mike Betcher, NBC News, Johannesburg.
Kurt Waldheim denied again today that he was involved in Nazi atrocities. The United Nations recently released a file on the former Secretary General that critics said would implicate him in war crimes. But today, Waldheim said that file reaffirms his innocence. And the Israeli cabinet has resolved an 8-day crisis that threatened the collapse of the fragile coalition government. Prime Minister Shimon Peres had demanded the dismissal of the finance minister, who had criticized him in newspaper interviews. But Peres has agreed to let that minister swap jobs with another cabinet member.
Hello, I'm Leona, your automatic teller. Can I help you with a student loan?
No, a car loan, Leona. Fast forward.
A home improvement loan.
It's a General Motors car. Don't get hassled when you finance a new car or truck. Get GMAC financing only at your GM dealer. Is there someone live I could talk with around
Do we
here?
have one of our calendars? This is a finance calendar. We also have what they call a credit calendar. If I can only find it.
The business person who deals with higher volumes of information needs answers fast. And just when you think you found a solution, more work piles up. So you run back and forth and back again, searching high and low for a way to get on top of things. That's why IBM created the personal computer AT, with the power to push high performance even higher. With the AT, fast becomes faster. The capacity to handle data becomes greater. And the power that serves one person becomes a powerhouse that serves the needs of many, networking with other PCs in your office. Pretty advanced stuff. But to IBM, it's all in a day's work. The IBM Personal Computer AT, with the power of advanced technology. See it at a store near you or call your IBM representative.
7 weeks after Ferdinand Marcos was driven from the Philippines, staunch supporters rallied in downtown Manila today. Several thousand people gathered peacefully in a park. It was the largest pro-Marcos demonstration since Corazon Aquino took over as president. The protesters denounced the new government and said they don't believe charges that Marcos was guilty of election fraud and corruption. Marcos, in an interview with Tom Brokaw earlier today, acknowledged that he owns some property in the Philippines. But he denied reports that he owns a fortune in property worldwide at the expense of the Philippine people.
Mr. President, one of your supporters in the Philippines said today that you said to him, "Tell our people to await the return of the eagle," a reference to yourself. Do you intend to go back to the Philippines and attempt to seize power?
First of all, I never used the name eagle. If they have to refer to my guerrilla name, I was Lawin or Falcon. And I never used such a effusive language. What I said was, you wait for the return of normalcy and help the government reestablish the plans for economic recovery and for eliminating insurgency.
Mr. President, let me ask you about your personal life. You're now living in Hawaii in reduced circumstances, but you're still comfortable, as I understand it.
Well, tolerably comfortable, although we are practically living on the charity of the community, if we must tell the truth.
My question is, when you were in power, you not only had the palace, but you had homes scattered throughout the Philippines. There are now receipts showing that Mrs. Marcos would spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on antiques and on jewelry in a very short period of time. You had yachts, for example.
On. Short period of time, 20 years. All the records are there. They know it. And but what they give you is a distortion of the truth, lies. And we are going to bring this out.
Well, now you've had this past week, you've had 2 New York real estate people, the Bernsteins, swear under oath before Congress that they managed $300 million worth of property for you in Manhattan. You have denied that.
Come on. That's not their testimony. Joseph Bernstein testified that his impression was that the principals were Marcos. When he was asked point blank, is there any document which authorizes you? Is there any document with the signature of Marcos? He said no. And then when he was asked, where did the capital come from? And he said, mostly borrowed money.
But he also said that there were corporations that were arranged through Panama. He said that you had inquired with him on several occasions about the formation of trusts, that Mrs. Marcos had raised a checking account for $120 million in a Swiss banking account?
Oh, come on. How can he know that I raised $120 million in a Swiss banking account? But I feel that we will settle all of this. I will vindicate myself and the whole family and the administration of Marcos for the last 20 years.
Warming up, feeling neat, 'cause she's eating what the big boys eat. It's pure and simple, toasted wheat. A funky taste that's not too sweet. It's just good, crunchy stuff, and I like that. Can't get enough of that. Pure and simple, toasted wheat. Now go get your Wheaties. That's what this girl eats. Watch out, big boys.
Today, which pain relief product are you choosing for your family? Get the facts and you'll make an intelligent choice. Anacin. The Anacin formula contains aspirin, the pain-relieving medicine doctors recommend most. Something else about Anacin. Over 150 billion Anacin tablets have been taken for relief. And as for confidence, doctors have recommended Anacin for effective pain relief for years. So you see, Anacin is an intelligent choice. Anacin, doctor recommended for pain relief.
We're going your way, saving with style. We're going your way, mile after mile. We're going your way, we're Budget.
At Budget, you get stylish cars without the stylish prices. Just $39.95 for a luxurious Lincoln. There's no better way to go.
We're going your way, we're Budget, and we're going your way.
The FBI today continued its investigation into the background of two gunmen killed in a shootout with federal agents in Miami on Friday. 2 FBI men were killed in the battle and 5 were wounded. Dennis Murphy has more from Miami.
We pray for Benjamin Grogan. We pray for his wife and for his family. We pray to the Lord.
FBI agent Benjamin Grogan and his young partner Gerald Dove were gunned down by 2 men who lived deceptively quiet suburban lives. Each owned a 3-bedroom house in South Miami.
He was a family man, went to PTA meetings. I would wave to him when we passed on the street, and that's the only thing I knew about him.
William Maddox was known as a doting father and born-again Christian widower. He once attended this Baptist church. Maddox's emotional struggle after the murder of his wife in Ohio was featured in an admiring article in a Christian magazine. He is the same man who died in a 5-minute shootout with 8 FBI agents. Maddox and his partner, Michael Platt, killed 2 agents and wounded 5 others with withering fire from a shotgun and semi-automatic carbine before an injured FBI man finally brought them down. Today, Attorney General Edwin Meese visited the 3 FBI agents still hospitalized with serious gunshot wounds.
I think they all performed extremely well, and the fact that the 2 people were stopped indicates that they performed well.
The FBI and Dade County Police had been looking for 2 bank and armored car robbers for the last year. The suspects used automatic weapons, sometimes wore fatigues, and they shot without provocation. In January, both robbers opened fire on a Brinks armored car guard. Agent Grogan and his partner were looking specifically for these 2. They knew they were homicidal and armed with automatic weapons, yet the 2 agents confronted their violent suspects armed only with 6-shot revolvers.
I've seen the good, I've seen the bad, and I've seen the ugly. The ugliest I've ever seen, and the ugliest I ever want to see was Friday morning.
There will be postmortems on one of the bloodiest days in FBI history. One question sure to arise is why the FBI went on a dangerous surveillance job so heavily outgunned. Dennis Murphy, NBC News, Miami.
At least 1 person was killed and 50 people were hurt when an out-of-control car plowed into a crowd walking to a strawberry festival in Ponchatoula, Louisiana today. Police say the woman behind the wheel suffered a heart attack. Passing trucks, ambulances, and helicopters rushed the most seriously injured to hospitals. Jack Nicklaus won his 6th Masters golf tournament in Augusta, Georgia today. The 46-year-old Nicklaus began the day 4 shots off the pace. But on the back 9, he had a sensational 6 birdies and 1 eagle, firing a final round 65.
One, 2.
Hey, body of steel.
And a mind to match.
Since when?
Well, try me.
Okay, what's the name of your favorite cereal?
Lotus fruit. Screw down to...
Post Fruit and Fiber. Tastes so good you forget the fiber. Now 20% more fiber with tender dates, plump raisins, and crunchy walnuts. So all you remember is...
fruit. And it's delicious.
Guess I'll settle for the body of steel.
Post Fruit and Fiber cereal. Tastes so good you forget the fiber.
What do you look for in a hotel? Clean rooms, dependable service, locations right where you want them, and prices that won't end your trip before it starts. Well, Best Western's on top of all that, with over 3,000 independently owned and operated hotels worldwide. It's the right place for the right price, no matter where you travel. So come on, stay with us.
Call 1-800-528-1234. Best Western, 1-800-528.
I'm Bryant Gumbel. This week on Today, a 5-part series on the baby boom generation turning 40.
I'm Jane Foley. Also Susan St. James, George Harrison, and Senator Gary Hart.
That's this week on Today.
1 out of 9 obstetricians surveyed has stopped delivering babies. Some mothers have had to find new doctors. Others have had to travel elsewhere to give birth. What are the reasons? Lawsuits are costing more and more. Insurance costs are rising. Obstetricians have been hit hard. Many think it isn't worth it. What can be done? Call for this free report. Learn how to protect your rights. Learn how to stop paying the price.
Finally tonight, a moment in history. Pope John Paul today made the first papal visit ever to a synagogue and deplored the hatred and persecution of Jews over the centuries. Coming midway between Easter and Passover, it was an effort to heal almost 2,000 years of discord between Catholics and Jews. And NBC News correspondent Stan Bernard was there.
This Pope, who has traveled the world, today only traveled about half a mile from the Vatican, but went where no Pope has ever gone before. The synagogue visited by John Paul sits in what was a ghetto, created by the edict of another Pope, Pope Paul, in 1555, when he declared all Jews the killers of Christ. It remained a ghetto until 1870. Today, with increased threats of terrorist attacks, it was a wall of police to protect both the Pope and those attending. The synagogue was attacked by Arab terrorists in 1982. Police staked out roofs and checked out anyone who might be suspicious. Inside, the Pope was welcomed warmly. The Italian Jewish community seemed awed by the history they were witnessing. Survivors of Auschwitz and other concentration camps came to bear witness, and here John Paul called Jews the beloved elder brothers of Christians. They knew this Pope said special prayers at the memorial to the Jews killed at Auschwitz in his homeland, Poland. The Pope stood where church law once forbade any priest to stand and told the Jews of Rome and the world, it is wrong for Christians to believe the Jews were repudiated or cursed for the death of Christ, whom the Pope today called the Son of your people. Jewish leaders today hinted they would like to see the establishment of diplomatic relations between Israel and the Vatican, but the Pope steered clear of any comments on the Middle East. Vatican officials are not foreclosing the possibility of today's visit as a step toward diplomatic relations, and the Pope is described as having an ardent desire to visit the Holy Land. The Pope acknowledged that today marked only a first step toward ending Jewish persecution. Stan Bernard, NBC News, Rome.
And that's our report this Sunday night. Tom Brokaw will be here tomorrow. I'm Chris Wallace in New York. Good night from all of us at NBC News.
Andy Griffith's back. Shazam! Opie's back and Barney too.
10-4.
With Gomer and Goober and Thelma Lou.
Old friend.
They're all back for all new laughs in America's hometown.
What do you think? Outstanding.
And they'll shoot the works when you return to Mayberry.
Life in the fast lane.
A world premiere movie tonight.
Hi, Max Headroom here with... Is this my guest? I heard you were big time in the old pop biz. Well, I'm going to take that as a no comment. So, nitty-gritty time. What I'm talking about, and you're not, is that more people prefer the new refreshing taste of Coke over Pepsi. Sweating? It's true. More people are, as we Cokeologists say, catching the wave. Catch it if you can. Catch the wave. Coke.
Telling a story with pictures and sound. That's the job of a photojournalist. Starting Monday, see what the judges of the National